Alrighty, let's get ourselves all situated here. Let's see what, see what's the what here. Sometimes it's super interesting because sometimes I got people who are like, "Oh, but I joined and it was late," and so I wanted to give people a minute to come on in, and then and then the first thing actually that I want to talk about is um, the the first thing that I want to talk about is cats and coronavirus. So, coronavirus in cats. So, some of you may have heard there was a tiger at the Bronx Zoo, and there may be other cats who have tested positive for COVID-19. So, coronavirus is known in cats. If you have ever gotten a kitten and they have ever gotten an FVRCP, those stand for feline viral rhinotracheitis, coronavirus, and parvovirus. So, coronavirus is the causative agent of feline infectious peritonitis in cats. Coronaviral vaccines are very strain specific. Okay, and so cats get a coronavirus. Now, I know everybody has been talking about what, like, the connection between animal populations and human populations. And I just want to talk a minute before we dive into life coaching about viruses, pandemics, and epidemiology. Okay, so viruses, pandemics, and epidemiology. Epidemiology is the study of how things happen over populations. Okay, pandemics, by their very definitions, happen over populations. When one person gets sick from a novel coronavirus, okay, nothing happens. When an entire population of people gets sick from a novel coronavirus, then we get an epidemic. When an epidemic goes across borders, then we get a pandemic. But these things happen across populations. Viruses mutate and grow across populations. So if a virus can become infectious into a tiger, then what has to happen is that they would have to be infectious across a population of tigers, and two is not a population, that were in close enough contact with each other. And for that to be a problem to humans, they would then have to reassort that virus and communicate it back out to us. All right, that would be very, very unlikely in a zoo animal. Okay, the reason all of this stuff, and if you look at where all of this is coming from, okay, and where our epidemic diseases have been coming from, it's been in places where there is intense concentration of humans and animals of a variety of different species. There was a paper from PubMed published last year about bats and novel coronaviruses. So coronaviruses are single-stranded RNA viruses, and in the world of nucleotides and genetic material, single-strand RNA viruses are not very stable, and so they mutate a lot. And then that means a couple of different things. One, it means vaccines have to be very strain specific. And two, it means that when they do mutate, we have to play catch up with them. There are, I think, 8 known variants was the last one I saw last week. Some research out of Iceland that they've isolated 8 known variants, but they're all variants of the same virus, and it looks like they would be taken care of with the same vaccine. So population, just because something happens in the cat at the Bronx Zoo, they monitor that cat. That cat is vaccinated for feline coronavirus. It's not clearly not vaccinated for human coronavirus, nor is human coronavirus likely to go anywhere in that cat. Of course, we don't know. So this is, as somebody who did comparative medicine is what we call it for a long time, that's kind of that's my best estimate around what's happening with cats and coronavirus. All right, coronavirus also happens in horses, happens in dogs, happens in cattle. It's the causative agent of, I suppose one of the viruses that's the causative agent of shipping fever in cattle. And I want to put a note out there about ivermectin. Cattle and feedlots are all on ivermectin, and they still get shipping fever. They still get coronaviruses. Horses, still get coronaviruses, and they're on a metric ton of ivermectin. So please don't go stockpiling ivermectin in the hopes that it will cure you of coronavirus or prevent coronavirus. Ivermectin cures a lot of things in vitro, which means in a petri dish. Ivermectin cures AIDS like HIV. You can't get a co-infection of AIDS with ivermectin present in a petri dish. Do you know how many millions of people in the world are HIV positive status and get ivermectin all the time? It's not part of their antiretroviral regimens. I promise you. Okay, and so I would be super surprised if ivermectin is going to cure this. Hydroxyquinolone, also super surprised. It may don't. Please don't leave that to the professional experts, and don't go to the Tractor Supply store and buy all that stuff up because it's not human grade medicine anyway. Okay, so those are our public service announcements for coaching this morning. So thank you everybody for joining us. And today we're going to really start diving in. So yesterday I talked about like making the choice to tell yourself the truth about your life as it is right now, because it's from a place of truth that we can create all of our power. All right, and that's what we're going after, right? I think that there's a lot of impetus right now, especially in the online world, for people to promise transformational change. I do promise transformational change because that's the business that I'm in. I've been promising that for a long time now. And there is good reason to not panic in the online space, because there are lots and lots of places that are in the business of helping people cope with their lives and make more money and look better and have better relationships. And those places are all going to do fine. Okay, and I am in the business of helping people have better relationships in business and make more money. And so there are like a lot of people who are not in that business, and there are a lot of people who are home with their kids. And I want you all to take deep breaths. Okay, and just because everybody says this is a transformational opportunity, one, it doesn't mean everybody isn't always losing their shit. Okay, I have a whole thread over on one of my mom's groups about, like, how did we completely lose it at our children today? Right, and so I think that I want everybody to take a collective sigh and allow themselves the ebb and flow. Sometimes this feels okay and it feels like we're doing it, and sometimes it doesn't. And we give ourselves permission, as we say, we give ourselves permission to feel all of our big feelings. So in our house, we are doing morning tapping and laughter yoga to get people, accustomed to big feelings. And it's been really great, There's a transformation, I don't know, I'll tell you in a year. Transformation doesn't normally happen inside 2 weeks, so we'll keep at it. And that is, that sort of brings me to why I've been on and why this is all so important, is because the consistent application of thought work in your life will radically change your life. Okay? And I know this because it's radically changed mine for the better. Absolutely for the better. I had things going on this weekend that I was like, wow, that's really quite something. That's really quite something. And things that would have and have in the past derailed me in my business and like shook me up for like weeks. I'm like, okay, so this is how we're going to deal with this. And then we just deal with it and we move on. And I'm able to serve my clients from a space of having taken care of all of my own stuff, right? And that's a lot about what these coaching sessions are. It's about showing up to ourselves and taking care of our own stuff, because that's literally the only stuff that we can take care of, right? It's literally the only thing that we can take care of. And we are the ones that are in charge of that. And that's amazing news, because when we are in charge of our own selves, then we actually have all the power in our own life. And one of the most powerful exercises you can do is telling yourself the truth. Okay? And so this week, this whole entire week, we are going to be making a conscious choice to tell yourself the truth about how your life is right now and to deal with the nouns in our life. Okay, and maybe the verbs. So nouns and verbs. Okay, without with adverbs and adjectives, right? Without modifiers, all that sort of stuff. Okay, because the ability to do that in and of itself is an incredibly freeing process. It is absolutely freeing to be able to understand what are the things that are going on, how are they going on, like, and what am I thinking about it is the fundamental principle of everything that I teach. There's what's going on, and then there's what you think about what's going on, and the two are not the same thing at all. And the sooner that you can detach the nouns and verbs of what is going on from what you think about what is going on, the happier you are going to be. Okay, and so as I have indicated before, we are going to be doing this work across a whole set of sections of our lives. So on Sundays, I'm going to be introducing like the topic for the week. And what we are going to be discussing. So kind of life coaching topics overall, and then on Mondays we're going to tackle health and weight, because that is actually it's the window through which I started all of this transformational work, even though it wasn't the one I intended to. And then on Tuesdays, we're going to be doing booze, drinking, and other ways that we try and avoid our emotional intensity. Wednesdays, we're going to be doing work. Thursdays, we're going to be doing all the incoming money, and Fridays, we're going to be doing the outgoing money, and on Saturdays, we're going to be talking about all of our relationships, okay? And in week 1, we're going to define and document reality and make this choice that we've been talking about to tell yourself the truth of your life right now. And this all starts with the worthiness journey. And this is the worthiness journey that I started talking about yesterday, that you are 100% worthy no matter what you are doing, okay? And that going through and documenting your reality, understanding life coaching, starting a business, being a parent, being a spouse, being an employee, being a boss, none of that changes any of your worthiness at all whatsoever. You are 100% worthy, and that gives us the basis for which we do everything, okay? And so when it comes to weight, there are so many conversations that we have that do not come from a basis of worthiness. We have good foods and bad foods, right? Right? We have, and then that means that we are good or bad depending on what we eat. This is a really common conversation in our society, is that, oh, I was really good today because I denied myself whatever food, or, oh, I was so bad. I was so bad and I had cake. I'm not going to lie, I had chocolate chip cake this weekend. My kid turned 12. It was interesting. Boy, wasn't that sweet. And so there is what we actually eat, and there's what we think about what we eat. There is what we actually weigh, and there's what we think about what we weigh. There is what we drink in terms of water and coffee and all of that good sort of stuff, and then what we think about it, okay? And so the goal for this week, again, is to be giving ourselves the context to tell ourselves the truth, because that's going to bring up all of the feelings, okay? And that is the point. Transformation lies on the other side of being uncomfortable, because the only reason you are uncomfortable is because of thought in your mind. It's not because of what the scale says, right? Because you can get on the scale, you get on the scale and you're down 2 pounds and you're like, woohoo! And we think it's the scale. It's like with a reading on the scale that's making us feel better. It is never that. It is always what we thought about those 2 pounds. Okay, and so when I started on this journey of losing all the weight, and I just looked at 2 years ago, I was in Iceland with the now 12-year-old, and I was looking at a picture of myself, and I was like, my face is much, much rounder. And it was, it was probably the heaviest I've ever been. And it was kind of fascinating to take a look at that picture and see where I was 2 years ago versus where I am right now. And in terms of health and weight, I'm in a much, 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 I don't want to say better place. I wasn't in a particularly bad space, but I'm in a place where I have a lot less conversation going on in my own head. Okay, when we start dissociating the noun verbs of from what we think about the nouns and verbs in our life, we can actually calm down the chatter in our head, which is kind of why I'm starting with food. Okay, and so what does it look like to start with food? It looks like getting up in the morning and stepping on the scale. All right, and so one of the very first things to do if you are going on a weight loss journey is to get on a scale. And it's not because the scale tells you that you're good or bad. And if you have one of those scales where you can like record your voice on it, I recommend recording. I am 100% worthy, and I am developing the capability to see my weight as a circumstance. Just take that. Put my voice on there. Take it. If you want me to record it, I'll record it as an MP3 and send it. You just ask. Okay, so there's that's like the place to start. Okay, I get up almost every single morning and I get naked and I step on the scale, right? And then I write it down. I have a Samsung phone and it goes in a Samsung app. And I just I switched phones and I lost 2 years of weight loss history. Kind of bummed about that because I really liked looking at it. But 2 years of weight loss history, it's okay. And you're just going to write it down. Okay, and that is all you are going to do. Okay, and the question becomes, can you weigh yourself once a week, once a day, every day for 2 weeks, and then go and write down every single solitary thing you think that weight means about you. Okay, and that is truly where we start. Okay, because the facts around your weight and your health are just that. It's the weight you are when you are on the scale. Okay. And sure, can we talk about what it means to lose weight? Of course, but what it means to lose weight is meaningless unless you become emotionally detached from the number on the scale. And the best way that I know how to do that is to weigh yourself every day and then go do a thought download and recognize how those thoughts make you feel. Okay? And then the question becomes, how do you want to feel? All right? And we're going to talk about that. That we are going to talk about next week. Okay? Once you have a couple of days of writing down your weight at least once a day, okay, write down your weight at least once a day. Then what you can do is you can start writing down what you are actually eating. Okay. Now, there are studies out there that show that writing down what you're eating is the single most effective thing you can do for permanent weight loss. And it is not the magic of writing down what you're eating. What happens is that in your head, you are going to say, if I put this in my mouth, I have to write it down, okay? And then you're going to decide whether or not you want to feel the feelings that show up when you write down what you had to eat. And that's what affects the permanent weight loss, is because you decide, hey, I'm okay with this and I'm going to write it down, and then you make reasoned decisions, because like every other weight loss program, the permanent weight loss happens to the people who stick with it, okay? So there is confirmation bias. I will totally cop to the reason I stuck with it and stuck with this methodology, this permanent methodology of losing weight, is because it worked, because it's a system that works for me. It's not based on denying myself any food. It's based on making a choice about foods based on how my body feels. Happens to be a conversation I'm really good at because I had to start getting good at it in 8th grade when I started developing food intolerances. All right? But understanding those nouns and verbs, okay? Because here's what's going to happen is you're going to step on the scale, okay? And you're going to come up with a weight. And let's say it is 200 pounds. Come up with a weight that's 200 pounds. There you go. And you're going to write 200 pounds in the top of your diary, all right? And then you're going to do a thought download. And your thought download is going to sound things like, I can't believe I weigh 200 pounds. So 200 pounds weighs a lot. Okay, there are some people in my life where you'd be like jumping up and down correctly if they weighed 200 pounds, which goes to show you that 200 pounds is in fact neutral because people can think different things about the same number. Okay, so you're going to write down your thought download. You're going to write down things like, I should weigh more than this. I should weigh less than this. I can't believe I weigh this. This is 2 pounds up from yesterday. This is 2 pounds down from yesterday. Right? This is how I feel about this. When I look at this number, I feel sick to my stomach. I feel super proud of myself. I am incredibly excited that I weigh 200 pounds. Like, whatever thoughts come to you, you are going to write them down. Okay? And then when you have been doing that exercise, which really should only take you about 5 minutes, you've been doing that exercise for the next, when you're doing that exercise, and do that for a couple of days, but keep it up for a couple of weeks, you are going to add in, this is what I ate today, right? You're just going to write down what you ate, and then you're going to be doing 2 things. You're going to write down all your thoughts about your weight, and then you're going to write down what you ate. Now, you are welcome to write down thoughts about what you ate, but my suspicion is that those are going to be thoughts that lead you down a rabbit hole of unworthiness. So, if you are already in a space where you can write down what you ate today from a space of worthiness, knock yourself out. You probably don't need this coaching. Okay? Just writing down the facts, because it's the getting used to the facts and going through the sweat and tolerating the discomfort of seeing the facts in our life, all right, that will get you through the hurdles that allow you to have the permanent weight loss. Okay, so first step, write down what the scale says. Second step is write down what you ate. Okay, and then when you're comfortable with that and you've done those things like every day, and your thought download every day for like 5 days, I want you to start planning out with no restrictions in mind what you are going to, okay? You're going to, and you just do it 24 hours in advance. Okay, so my journal says for lunch today, turkey, vegetables, rice, chocolate. So, all right, I don't write volumes. All right, I don't, I have a time, but that time is recorded in my calendar. Like, I have lunch break written in my calendar, which it happens after this. I have, and that lunch break I have because we got to clean the kitchen because we have 5 people eating. The kitchen gets fairly dirty. So yeah, so that's what my diary says: turkey, vegetables, rice, and chocolate. And that's what I'm going to have: turkey, vegetables, rice, and chocolate. And that is it. That is it for lunch. And for me, because of the way I eat, that is it until I eat again tomorrow morning. All right. You can go back there, look on the YouTube channel. There are, I've talked about my food protocol and how I do food protocols. You can watch I think I did a whole episode on food protocols and what that looks like. And the facts of what I eat are what I write down, or what I was writing down. They don't change, so I don't write them down anymore. But you can write down your fasting windows, all right, because this is one of the things that has radically altered my eating is doing intermittent fasting. Okay, and so you can start writing down your fasting windows and whether you stuck to your fasting windows and your thought downloads about your fasting windows. But the real trick is just to write down all the facts. If you had a fasting window and you didn't eat from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 8 o'clock the next morning, then you just write down 16-hour fasting. That's a 16-hour fasting window. You just write down 16-hour fasting window. The end. Okay? And then you write down all of your thoughts. I'm super proud of myself for a 16-hour fasting window. Whoops, I was supposed to have a 20-hour fasting window. And it gets you in the habit of understanding that there's the reality of your life, and then there are the thoughts about the reality of your life. And that habit of writing down those thoughts and then writing down what you think about those thoughts is a habit that you can get into in every facet of your life. Try that. I don't recommend trying that with your spouse because that can be challenging. Ask me how I know this. But we run into this with our kids, okay, right? Because they have jeans on the floor of their room, and we look at jeans on the floor of their room, and they look at it, and we have very different thoughts, right? My thought is, your room is a disaster area, and their thought is, I have jeans on the floor, right? And those thoughts just feel a different way. And so just like, we're going to work on recognizing feelings next week. And so the more you understand what thoughts you have, the better you're going to be able to recognize your feelings, all right? So just work on your thoughts there, my friends. And it allows you to develop the capability, and this is the capability we're developing, to develop the capability to separate fact from thought. It is the cornerstone capability of all of the work that I do in the world. It is the cornerstone capability of how I parent, how I CEO, how I coach, how I consult. All right, that's what we got for you today. I am off to my delicious lunch of turkey, vegetables, rice, and chocolate. You are all delightful, amazing people, and I hope you have a super great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about alcohol. I'm going to introduce you to the concept of buffering. A lot of people use food as a buffer, so it's going to kind of tie into what we did today, and all the things that we do instead of feeling our feelings, right? Which is also telling us the truth of our lives. All right, I love you all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.